back to this week's leadership moment. Now, I remember a couple years ago, my dad was telling me a story about how early in his career as an ophthalmologist, he's an eye doctor, that he could walk into the examination room, and most often he could walk in and before even talking with the patient, be able to look at the eye, determine what the eye trauma was, and already begin thinking through the course of action for it. And so young in his career, his mindset was to be as efficient as possible, and also just try to be effective with time. And he'd walk in and provide the diagnosis, give the treatment plan, and send the patient on his way. But he came to find out that a week later the patient would call again and with some complain about that there was still an eye pain that was going on. And my dad knew for sure that he diagnosed correctly and he had the right treatment in mind. And so it always kind of perplexed him. And over time, he started to realize that although he had fixed the eye problem, he'd not given time for the patient to share the story, talk about how the actual trauma took place, talk about how uncomfortable it was, and walk them through the journey. They hadn't actually been able to give their heart away and share it with him. And it was the story, I think, that was preventing the person from actually healing. And so my dad had to learn how to slow himself down and walk in and listen and provide that empathy to allow the patient to share the story, for him to provide some consoling words to the person, and then say, let's go ahead and work on this treatment plan. And I think about that in our roles as educational leaders, whatever our title is, and that especially in this time of COVID right now, that we might be running off to that very next thing that we're trying to take care of. But we're in the human-centered business, aren't we? And it's all about relationships. And it's important for us as we're trying to tackle the issues so we can move on to the next one that's coming up. And we know that there's many of those. But we can't forget that every opportunity we have when we interact with somebody is always about an opportunity to build a relationship with somebody. It might be the first time you're meeting this person, a student, a parent, the staff member, and it might be the 15th time that you're talking with them. And I challenge you to take a step back and get away from always thinking about how do I fix this, to really first spend time in really just trying to communicate and build that relationship with them. It takes longer, not gonna lie. Sometimes that phone call takes longer than it does the email, and sometimes those things need to take place. But at the same time, I hope what you'll find out is you're going to build a relationship with this person. You'll probably be able to sometimes better diagnose it and figure out what other needs might need to take place also through that conversations. But ultimately, I think what you'll have is a relationship with a person, and you'll be able to connect with them so that if or when the next time comes, there'll be that next conversation that you can draw upon from that previous interaction you've had with them. Relationships are important. We're always in that opportunity to build one. And I encourage you, just like my father, in trying to think about how clarity really happens and takes place, that you think as a leader, how can you provide the best clarity possible, and how can you build those relationships in those moments that lead up to an interaction with another. So with that, I hope you have a great week, and this is your leadership moment.